Hey, welcome everyone to the Tellor community call, tech call. I don't know what we're calling this one. March 2nd, 2021. Big news. Obviously, a lot of you are migrating your tokens. That's kind of been what this past week has been about really for us. So it's open for migrations, and we know that there are some issues, namely in the fact that if you have them on a centralized exchange, a lot of exchanges still haven't switched over yet. Unfortunately, we're not necessarily in control of that. Um, it's one of those pieces, and it's also why, hopefully this can be the lesson as far as not storing your coins on a centralized exchange. But um, we're working with them. We're going to make sure you guys get paid out. Don't worry. It just takes some time. A lot of these exchanges are pretty big and kind of bureaucratic. So you just got to go through a lot of the steps. Nobody seemed to have any issues with anything so far. It's just almost reaching out to them and getting them to respond and do something. Nobody said like they're not going to migrate or there's any sort of issues. So we're going to make sure that everyone gets over. It just might take a little bit of time. Same with dexes. Some people also got stuck on a dex, whether it's Uniswap or some of the other ones, and we're going to make sure that you guys get paid out as well. The Uniswap piece, as far as the timeline, we're shooting for this Friday, but definitely by Monday. We just want to make sure that we get it right. A lot of these pieces, with Uniswap, we're going to actually make you give us. We're basically going to be buying your LP token from you. And the problem is that we don't want you to cash out Tellor and then be able to go and sell your LP token as if it was actually valid. Same with Balancer and things like that. So we'll just keep buying these. So yeah, there's some other pieces which are some more custom contracts that people have written, so they'll write their own smart contract for some purpose. And we're just kind of in contact with you. We'll be pushing some of the more simple ones. We'll be pushing out as early as Monday next week, and then some of the more complex ones might take a little bit longer. And hopefully you guys understand. I know a lot of you guys are users in these contracts, and the reason we're doing this is to make sure that you guys don't get screwed over. Because for every person that comes to us and says, every exchange that, hey, I'm an exchange, and can we get our token? We unlock our tokens? Can you just unlock them? We also get several other requests that also say they're that exact same exchange, and we can't migrate our tokens. Can you just send them to this address? We obviously can't do that because somebody's lying. We've gotten several of those. So we just really have to work on making sure that who is the actual owner of these tokens gets the tokens. It's a messy process, but we're gonna come out on the other side and we'll be better for it. So thanks for being patient with us. Just know that we're continuing to work, and with this update, it should speed things up quite a bit. So the ultimate goal is to hopefully be done, within a month with the vast majority of them. And I think once the centralized exchanges go over, that'll be the vast majority of them. Other news as well, we have hackathon winners that we're paying out, right, Ryan? Mike, looking good. We did a lot of hackathons over the past month or two, and they went great. And there's some winners that we're paying out their rewards. So if you are one of said winners, be sure to get in contact with us. So any other announcements, or do you just want to hop into the questions, Mike?
Um, we no new announcements in terms of events that we have planned yet. We're sort of in the midst of figuring out what our next event that we want to be a part of is. Um, the thing about hackathons is that there usually is one hackathon every month, but some of them have different themes. For instance, some might be more DeFi focused, and other ones might be more uh, scalability or scaling solutions focused, and so there's not a great fit for us. And so we're speaking with the usual folks about finding the next fit. Um, so hopefully, in the next couple months, we'll get out there again and get more bounties out there for you guys that are hackers. but stay tuned for that. Um, I think that's.
Brenda gave a speech, so what, Sunday it drops?
Mm-hmm.
So if you guys want to watch Brenda talk for an hour, this Sunday we'll be passing around the link.
Of course they do.
It was good, Brenda?
It was fine. It was good.
Okay, you want to hop in the questions, Mike? We can do those.
Yeah.
So kind of the overall, so for this call, we'll go over some of these questions, and then we wanted to kind of go over the vision for Tellor, kind of where we're gonna be headed in the future, and give you guys, because there's sort of been a lot of questions now that we had a token migration. A lot of people are just wondering what we're up to and what kind of the whole space is up to. So we're gonna go over that. But now, all of your questions first. You guys come first.
So there are at least. So at least there's two questions here about liquidity pools and an update about the migration. If you are on a Uniswap pool or balancer pool or some similar contract, email us at tokenswap@tellor.io. Of course, you can reach us directly on Telegram or Discord as well, but that's the email address we've been telling those specific people to email us at, and we've been updating those people as well.
Yeah, so I think
we're hoping for Friday or Monday to have that migration ready, correct, Nick?
yeah, and JG, I know you're working directly on it. Basically, you have to approve us to spend your LP token, and then we'll basically buy it from you. We'll give you double the TRB. So like a Uniswap pool, for instance, is like 50% TRB, 50% ETH. We're just going to double the TRB amount in there and give it out to you at a fair basis, fair price. So it should be relatively simple, but we have to take your LP token, so you can't go sell it or trade.
Yep.
So it should be if this doesn't make any sense to you, you're fine. But if you are a Uniswap holder, this should make sense to you. So we'll be kind of in contact.
The solution should be easy on your end once we get it ready. So just wait for us to get in contact with you. One person says that they had emailed us but hadn't received a reply. I will double check. I believe we have no unread or unresponded emails in that email box, but if for some reason you were missed, we apologize, and I'll double check. You could always just ping the email address again so there's a new message in there. There have been a lot of messages in there. We'll make sure to find you, and we apologize for that. Next question is, there were rumors about Tellor being moved to Binance Smart Chain. Is this true or just rumors by the community?
I think some of the vision talk, we can kind of go over how we're going to work with some other chains, but no. So we are in an ERC20 token on Ethereum. No, we are not going to be. Ethereum is still sort of our main focus, but hopefully soon we'll be able to help people on Binance.
Yeah, there might be a confusion for people between the difference between us moving the Tellor system to another chain like BSC, or us just building an Oracle solution, an implementation of Tellor over on another chain and providing Oracle services over there. They're definitely different things. And so we can talk more about that in the rest of the call, but there might be some confusion there. It's definitely in our plans to provide some Oracle data over on Binance Smart Chain, and we'll talk about it later. Let's see here. Someone's asking a very specific question about their SafePal cold wallet. Having an issue with the migration. Again, I think for your specific case, I think the best call is to like DM us directly. You can message anyone on the team. Go into the main chat, and Ilari will give you our names. That's probably the best way, so that we can really have a chance to one-on-one with you and figure out if we can walk you through any solution. Another Uniswap pool. But this one has another question. It says, when will the information about the contract be updated on CoinGecko, et cetera? So CoinGecko,
We emailed them, right?
yeah. So CoinGecko and CoinMarketCap, they have all the information. They're just going to wait to migrate their information over once the large exchanges move over. That's what they want to do. Um, so they're just waiting for like Binance to move over, and then they're going to do it. Um, so it's just a little bit of a waiting game. Um, any partnerships coming up? Yes, I think we could say that. We have users integrating us, and we're hard at work on that. So we'll let you know. Okay, this is a repeat. We already talked about it. Centralized exchanges are taking a long time. I think that they all have their own process. Some of them aren't as organized as you can imagine. Other ones are, and they have more sort of bureaucracy to go through and some due diligence. So you have to understand. I can imagine that they are doing due diligence on the new contract just to make sure. So that might take a little. Since people are receiving 2x the TRB on the Uniswap pool instead of ETH, is the ETH lost in the Uniswap contract forever, or will the team be recovering it?
It is lost as of now. That's part of the reason. So we'll be kind of taking control of the LP tokens, and then hopefully at some point maybe Uniswap can do something to help us get it out. But it's likely lost. This is, somebody asked also on that topic, will that add to sell pressure giving out TRB? Maybe. I mean, technically any minting adds to sell pressure, so it you always could say that. I think always, like, you would assume that people within a Uniswap pool are sort of indifferent, and that's sort of the basis of a Uniswap pool, is you assume indifference between the two assets as far as which ones you're holding. So they're fine holding. I guess that would be the academic argument to it.
So what's the academic argument to when TRB going to $100 plus? Question mark.
Oh man. Wait, that's what we're talking about here over the next 20 minutes.
Okay, we've answered that one. What is the maximum amount of tokens, and will this increase or decrease as time goes by? There is no maximum amount of tokens.
Yeah, so I think it's just, the inflation rate that we have in our system is flexible. Right now it's sort of fixed, but we can always change it. We've changed it in the past, and if we deem that it's too low or too high, you can always increase it. It's a community thing.
Does it be something that?
Yeah, I mean, there's not a right answer or a wrong answer as far as what the inflation rate should be. There's just pros and cons. So
I think, Nick, you probably drool over the idea of one day there being like a Tellor governance chat board where there's this like 10-page discussion, debate going on about the inflation rate.
Yes, it'll be fun.
You're not even involved in it.
Yeah, no, I mean, it's weird because, like, the ultimately, in whenever you talk about like real world assets, like whenever everyone talks about the inflation rate, most of the time, like, it's the community holders who are there saying, like, no way, this is going to ruin our coin holdings. We're not we want to cap it and have a deflationary coin so our token goes up in price. But then you look at, like the Federal Reserve or the ECB, and like whenever they're talking about the inflation rate on the US dollar, like, it's not like people holding US dollars are saying, like, no way, you're going to ruin our holdings of the US dollar. Like, no, it's all about, like, how can we maximize employment? How can we maximize, the growth of the system? Because most people know that, yeah, we're not going to trash the dollar, but, what's the best way to actually spur the economy? And I can't wait until we get to that point where it's talking about, like, what inflation rate is best to grow the system. And that, because that's how, that's kind of the mindset you need to get in whenever you move to actually not just a speculative asset. So.
Yeah, even just thinking about Chorus lately, just ways to utilize inflation. It just sort of connects the idea of if not just having inflation for inflation's sake or distribution's sake, but like, well, distribution, you can make an argument for it, but like inflation for a use, like what are you going to do with it? How are you going to grow the network?
Yeah.
Something that obviously we care a lot about. Why didn't Tellor keep any efforts to attract more investors when you have free sources for promotion? Trying to decipher the angle of your question. I think just in general, I think most of our free resources and our sort of mindset around promotion to investors is through finding users, building a good product, and the ones that we actually really want to market to are less investors and more builders and hackers and things like that, because it's sort of a trickle down marketing effect that if users are using it and people are building on it, investors find out, because those builders, that activity sort of does all the marketing for you, and investors definitely notice it, versus the other way around. So we've, in our mind, we've been very focused on promoting in those ways. Okay, it's a finance question, question. And the last question that we haven't already addressed is something about swapping a TRB in a ledger. I'd be happy to personally walk you through that, but it should be really simple. If you Google how to connect your ledger to MetaMask, that's pretty much the main crux of how to do it. You have to connect your ledger to your MetaMask, and then you connect to our migration website, tellorscan.com/migrate, connect your MetaMask, which is connected to your ledger, and that'll allow you to migrate. But if that's still confusing to you, I'd be happy to personally walk you through it. So just get in the main chat on Telegram or email us and let us know who you are, and I'll reach out. That's it, unless there's some in the chat.
Cool. No, I think I was keeping track. So,
okay.
Yeah. So now we can kind of move on to the vision piece. Talking about this, we could go on this for hours, or we can be quick with it. I think I'll just start rambling, and you guys can interrupt me with questions and comments. And the vision of Tellor, the ultimate vision of Tellor is like one where it's really decentralized and community driven. So we want one that you guys help control as well. So if you disagree with any of the pieces, just let us know. To kind of give you guys the overall, what's the vision of Tellor, like what's the ultimate purpose of Tellor. Supporting, I'd say, like, if you had to distill it down to like one sentence, which like I hate mission statements and anything like that, but it would be like supporting the decentralized ecosystem through being an oracle. It's how can we make the best oracle possible to support decentralization. And like the why goes in would be like, why do we think decentralization is good? It preserves freedom. It helps people actually take control of their money, take control of speech. All of these are very important issues, and that's why where we feel that we can make a difference and things are needed are supporting this decentralized ecosystem, and kind of the path that we've chosen to do that is through creating the best oracle that we can. So note that although we're going to be talking about some other products and things that we can do, the main core tenet is still creating the best oracle and supporting kind of the ability of people to connect off-chain events to the blockchains, and that kind of overarching idea is always just kind of what we've been about here at Tellor. But that said, it's very vague. But I think a mission is kind of vague, and we've tried to set up a team that sort of believes in decentralization and believes that in what we're building, and we don't want to lose focus in that. Because I think if we lose focus in why we're building it, or if it becomes some sort of money grab, then you're never going to sort of be happy with it. You're never going to sort of actually meet any sort of goal or have any sort of guiding principle, and you won't actually build anything of value. So looking back on what we've built so far, so we started Tellor. So we were doing decentralized derivatives before Tellor with an Ethereum Foundation grant. And then we basically figured out what we liked as a solution to the Oracle problem. And about 2 years ago, we switched from derivatives fully into Tellor. And the world that we saw over the next few years was going to be one, Ethereum was going to be dominant. We said that basically we thought then Ethereum was expensive, so it's going to be high value transfers. People don't really need, they're not going to be doing penny by penny transfers on Ethereum. You're going to want high value items like derivatives contracts and DeFi. And then we thought that people would want things that are actually decentralized. That's why people are choosing Ethereum, and they're going to want things that sort of fit that model. That was the vision that we had, and that's what we built Tellor for. We wanted things that could manage derivatives contracts and DeFi, which we were building before. And we wanted to be actually decentralized, which we thought people cared about. And I'd say like, we got a lot of that right. I'd say we got, as far as picking a chain goes, we started building this, at a time when EOS was supposedly a competitor and things like that, and people were saying that other chains might be, but Ethereum was chosen. It by far is the winner. We got that right. We got DeFi right. That no one would argue. But I'd say like what we got wrong is, I don't think in our wildest dreams we would have ever thought that gas would get this high. To think that it would cost $40 to transfer our token, we would have almost laughed at you and said nobody's going to be using Ethereum then. And it could still go higher. It's the hard thing. So we definitely got that piece. We missed on that one. And the other one, we can just sort of be honest about it. We sort of overestimated how much people care about decentralization. We do, but as far as what actual users care about, especially over the past 2 years and even currently, I mean, look at how quick projects are to move over to Binance Chain. And there's nothing wrong with Binance Chain. I mean, I like Binance Chain 100 times better than I like someone like Chainlink who pretends to be decentralized. Binance Chain at least isn't even pretending. They're pretty much fully centralized, and they're making no bones about it. But people are going over there because they want usage, and it is about UX, and it is about how you can support their products and pad the team's wallets. So I think the idea that people are going to pay a premium for decentralization, and that people are going to actually go on these decentralized chains is, it's ultimately an unproven hypothesis that rests a lot on the actions of U.S. regulatory agencies. Just to be frank about it. So, that's kind of the world that I see us in now. But like going forward, okay, so now that was the past as far as what we envisioned. What do we see going forward? Well, Ethereum sort of broken. Like we said, we have $40 transfer fees some days, and then we could easily 5x from here on Ethereum, get up to $10,000 ETH prices, and you could be looking at $200 transfers on coins. Like, it could get ridiculous. It's really hard to build when you don't know which world we're in as far as gas prices go, because you don't know whether or not you can use Ethereum at all. But going forward, I see Ethereum sort of stabling out in terms of gas prices. I see basically any project that isn't currently on Ethereum is not going to build on Ethereum. You can. It's too expensive to deploy contracts and move. You either, maybe some big guys will, like if you're funded by Coinbase or YC or something like that, maybe then you can build on Ethereum. But most of the littler guys will move to some other chain. So we're gonna need to get on other chains. That said, where are other opportunities going to be? Like, does decentralization even still matter? And I would say, yeah. because I would say that kind of like I was talking about with the regulatory action, I think regulatory action will happen. You know, if you look at the guy we got in charge of the SEC now, he's not a softie. He will move quickly to do things. And I think he's going to go after a lot of centralized projects. I think he's, you know, I don't know about Binance Chain. You know, he'll probably, since it's the SEC, he's probably going to go after more security fraud versus that. But, you know, he could very easily go after Binance and shut it off to US customers. He could, but I think a lot of the other Oracle providers, if you're not actually decentralized, you'll probably need to be or get out of the way. So the question would be, okay, so how do we get this? Okay, so there's, you know, what do we do as a Tellor ecosystem now? You see a multi-chain world, you see regulatory actions coming down, clamping down on anything centralized. Does this kill the space? No, not at all. People are going to find a way. Probably with layer 2s, I think layer 2s are going to be huge because it sort of gives you the same tooling set as Ethereum without being on Ethereum. But we need a way to get on other chains. So, you know, we need to work to building Tellor so it can handle multiple chains. It can handle weird requests. You know, that was another thing that we sort of had. We had thought that much more standardized requests would be needed. And a lot of people do need these standardized requests, the ETH US dollars, the Bitcoin US dollars. But so many of our requests, people coming to us are like, we want the specific price of our token that's, you know, our shit token. And we have to like put it in or, you know, like try and add it. And the reason that they come to us is because like the chain links or like the compound or makers of the world, like if you want ETH US dollar price, you can just medianize Maker, Uniswap, Compound, like the big guys, like they're already throwing it on chain for you for free. Like you're fine. The problem is like when you need something that's not there and when you need to bridge chains. You know, same with that's a huge piece that's just completely centralized right now. So how do we sort of provide values to other chains in a much more flexible way? The other thing, if you assume regulatory actions are going to come down the pipeline, it'll probably shut off projects. Basically, it'll shut off our competitors, or whether it's a derivatives provider or something like that. If there's a centralized component, that component will get shut off. How do we mop up? You know, how do we take their business and say, hey, they got shut down because they were centralized. We're not centralized. And we can take you over quickly. You know, we're flexible enough to do that. And I think that's going to be really important. So this kind of goes into, okay, so what's Tellor going to be focusing on now for this value? So the main component, as always, is the core Tellor contract. We have our, you know, right now it's a proof of work system. It provides values quickly, but it's not quickly enough. Mainly, it can provide values quickly enough, but it's almost prohibited by gas costs on Ethereum. So we need to fix that. We need to make it sort of flexible enough that we can go on other chains. And the way that we likely see us doing this, me speaking from the CTO, not running it by any of the team, and while I say this, 100% likely to change, would be, you know, you would basically separate out. So you have the Tellor token, and then you would basically send the Tellor token to, it would be managed by a governance contract, which would could set things inflation rate, and then it could also pass out the inflationary reward. So it would pass out, it could pass out some to, say, the Ethereum smart contract. It could pass out some to other structures, whether it be Horus, or let's say we have an Ethereum system on another chain. We could put inflationary rewards on that chain. It could all sort of be managed by the contract, and that would be the sole purpose of the contract. And then we would have other sort of more modular Tellor pieces which run, likely the ones that will be on different chains. I think staking is the way to go. You know, not the miners have been great in our community, but if we're going to be fast enough to go on some of these more centralized chains, you gotta move to proof of stake. This is the way it is. So that's probably the overarching vision of what you can expect for Tellor through the next version of Tellor, whatever we're going to be calling it. But then there's two other pieces that are kind of off of this. So, the timeline for that version of Tellor would be, I would say, end of the year. It's ambitious. I know some people are like, that's not ambitious at all. It's ambitious. So we would love maybe by the end of the year get something out to completely revamp the Tellor system. Even if we could even still have the current type of Tellor system still up and then other pieces still running. But there's a lot of work to do on it, and it's going to be fun. We would need to get it audited, everything like that. It would be, but that's kind of the core piece. The other two pieces that we're working on is, okay, well, what can we do in the short term, and what can we do in the short term to kind of help be an oracle to these projects, and are there any other verticals? You guys know, of course. So the first piece would be, some of you guys have noticed we've launched the fellowship. This is a new repo that we opened up. The fellowship is a multi-sig for all intensive purposes. It selects 9 addresses, or any number of addresses, and we're allowed, basically we're going to be using these signers to go sign prices on other chains. You guys can go look at the repo. We'll be passing out some more information, but similar to how like Maker's Oracle works, is there's a group of off-chain signers, and then they can sign whatever prices they want and push them to whatever chain they want and push them to whatever price. It's a super flexible system. We're just making the voting and how it works very transparent, unlike Maker or Chainlink. Basically do the same thing where you have a group of admins who control what you're signing and how you push it. So that's going to be one way that we can sort of start talking to people. So whenever people come to us and say, hey, I'm building on Binance Smart Chain, can you get me this price? We can say, yeah. It's not going to be the core Tellor contract. We're going to be using our fellowship contract, which also uses TRB. But we can go over there instantly. We can start providing them prices. That way we don't have to wait a year. The other piece, Chorus. So when a lot of people are just sometimes questioning how, okay, so why Chorus then? Is Chorus part of the Oracle solution? And namely, it's part of the Oracle solution because it's a user. But it's something that we're passionate about. The biggest downfall to the space and to keeping good people in the space is going to be what we've seen over the past year in DeFi, where it just eats your soul, where it turns into a bunch of 24-year-old rich kids gambling, or probably not 24, now they're pros. Now it's like on Ethereum, it's just dominated by 100 whales who make Uniswap trades, and the rest of us can't do anything. You're going to get worn out because you're not building something that's actually making a difference. You're not building something that's actually, and Chorus is where we believe that we can actually put our stamp on the world and build something that's actually making a difference, namely creating community currencies. We want to create things that, we want to create pieces that actually allow real world communities or even online communities to actually build something. And this was, in my mind, always the purpose of crypto. So like we were building Tellor to support crypto, which is supposed to be doing this thing, but the rest of the crypto space is losing its mind and just not, it's just becoming this sort of casino-like environment. How can we sort of start molding it back? And I think that's where Chorus fits in, because it's really easy to say, it would be really easy for us to do something like, listen, if we just want to cash in on this bull market cycle, what you would do is you would run a completely centralized Oracle like Chainlink or one of these other products. You would basically just be a signer with a token. You would partner with every single project, giving basically gas fees away for free because you'd be pushing it for them. You partner with everyone because you're giving something away for free, and you sign prices away until you get charged by the FTC for being a security. And you could make a whole lot of money doing that, but it would, like in the long run, it's not a good idea for many, many reasons. And it's also not what we signed up to build. You want to build something that's going to last, and to create the vision of the decentralized world where people actually can have a money you can have a smart contract written that uses an oracle that isn't just some dude in some CEO, some corporate office. So anyway, I think that's the overall vision for me. Now we can kind of talk about it. We'd love to take team's questions or anyone's questions. But I think also the big caveat on Ethereum, as we're building out the next version of Tellor, or as we're building out any of these pieces, as I kind of talked about before, we're in a little bit of a holding pattern since prices are in the parabolic mode. If ETH prices crash, Ethereum has had multiple 90% pullbacks. If ETH prices go down to $200 again, things are if you go back $200 and are there for 2 years, things look really different than if they go up to $10,000 and we're there for another year. We honestly don't know which world we're in, and we aren't going to know for a while. So yeah, we'll have to kind of wait on that. But thoughts, guys?
On ETH prices? What?
Vision in general. Yeah, I mean, I know it was like a barrage of my visions, and then I know I had talked with Mike and Brendan a lot about this almost every week and every day. But JG?
JG, can you mute yourself? Can you?
It went crazy.
Unless you have something to say. If you have something to say it quickly, or else you are. But
no, I was just gonna say that I agree with most of the stuff. I think like what I would see, like what I put up as my vision, is somewhat aligned with your views.
Where would you disagree, JG?
I don't know. I'm not so sure like about the actual like layer 2s, like how would that look like, or like I'm still unsure about. I think I don't know. I'm still really unsure about how the future will look like. I think I'm not sure if we'll ever see like a chain again with that concentrates a lot of the usage as Ethereum does right now. I think the tendency is to be way more spread and like company specific chains and that kind of stuff, like a chain for DeFi, a chain for games. And I don't think like the moment that Ethereum is right now with like almost all the big protocols in it at the same time, I'm not sure if we'll ever come back to this, like due to guys' prices or usage or with bandwidth or some sort. But I don't know. I'm not sure if you completely disagree on that as well. It's just, yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't. I think, yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think a lot of it, like a lot of the stuff on Ethereum could be really centralized. It could just be put on central chains right now. And because there is no censorship resistance. Like you don't need censorship resistance for a lot of what's being put on Ethereum. So like, why would you have it on Ethereum? And the answer is like right now there's like that crypto premium, where you launch a token on Ethereum that even if it doesn't make sense, you still expect the token to go up in price, and there's this really large inefficiency to like doing things this way. And I think once that crashes and you see things sort of make sense, it would sort of be like like if you had to run everything like if all the other web applications were peer-to-peer back in the day, just like Napster, like if all of them did, just because then they could raise ridiculous valuations from VCs, you would see a lot more things go peer-to-peer, even though like a Facebook or a MySpace would be way worse on a peer-to-peer basis. I think you'll see things move back towards being centralized. That would be my hope, but yeah. So Mike, Brenda.
I think no matter what, there's a good chance that a good part of our predictions are going to be wrong again, and that's just something that we also expect to happen, and that goes back to why it's so important for us to stay nimble and flexible and lean and all that stuff that we really want to do, um, because we don't. There's no way for us to know exactly how it's going to go. And I think even if it doesn't go exactly the way we imagine it, we'll be more flexible because of it. So it's not a bad thing to try to move towards a more flexible future. And if ETH scales really fast and we end up just sticking around on Ethereum, then okay, we're built for that already, and we'll know how to do that really well. What you don't want to do is be caught with your pants down, and then you're late to the party. So, and also we didn't want to do it too early because there were people moving to these different chains a year ago, and a lot of our community were calling for us to hop on. I forget some of these chains that have now gone by the wayside. Um, we sort of wanted to wait a little bit and see what the writing on the wall was going to be. And I think now with the gas prices and things like that, we're starting to feel a little bit more certain that this could be at least a short-term direction things go. So,
Yeah, and we got a question, a good one. To truly achieve decentralization, Tellor team would need to fade away. Any thoughts on that, and plans to have Tellor truly decentralized and a community run like Bitcoin? And
It's the
yeah,
dream.
no, I mean we've literally said this exact same thing where, um, like our ultimate goal in the future is like Brenda lives on an island somewhere. Mike is like the VC, like, who supports Tellor projects on the side. And then I like run crazy projects on the side, as like head of research or something. And then, yeah, and then you're fully decentralized. You push it to a nonprofit. I think the balance here is, though, you don't want to do it too early. Because if you push it onto the community too early, what happens is that everyone just runs away, or somebody captures it all and centralizes it. The big thing. So I think in the future, what you want to get to a stable product that, okay, this thing isn't going to change that much. A community can sort of manage it. Whenever you're still shifting around a lot, and you it's best to be sort of more centralized so you can be more nimble. Whenever once you have a core product, say like Ethereum or something like that, it's relatively not going to change, and then you don't need anything done quickly, like you do. You can sort of decentralize and push it out to the community to do it. But you've seen many projects who decentralize themselves way too quickly. They push it out onto the community, and basically just development stops, or they try and they'll split the team into like 3 different foundations, and they all be building competing clients and it's just you hardly have any users. like what are you doing? Like try and get a few users and some traction, and then you can worry about getting rid of yourselves. I think first.
To actually get there, I mean, you need the users, and then you need the enough devs working on your on your ecosystem to be able to survive without you, and that just takes time. We wish we would be there at this point, but I think we're still talking about, we don't know where Ethereum is going and gas prices. So but yes, that's eventually where we want to get to, and we know it's gonna take some time.
and who's gonna in a decentralized community? Who has the most stake in it? It's going to be your users, like the core group of users that depend on Tellor. They're going to be the main stewards of Tellor in the future, because they're going to have the most stake involved in it. So you got to get there.
Yep.
And how do you get users? We need to, you kind of need Tellor team to sort of be flexible and tinker around until we get that right product market fit, and that's where we're moving towards.
Yeah, I mean, even Bitcoin, things like that, like the core people who built Bitcoin, like started fading off. Like Mike Hearn left in like 2013, 2014, and then some of the other guys 2015, 2016, like 6-7 years. A lot of the core guys were around for. Obviously you don't know Satoshi, but yeah, I mean the guys were around for a while, and I mean it is what it is, and same with like Ethereum. Joe Lubin with Consensus was basically the Ethereum chain for for its first 3-4 years. So yeah, I mean they were like with Infura and running all the operations there. So it takes time to decentralize, and how we do that, it's probably going to look different than other chains have done it, because I think every single chain is unique. So.
Do you think Ethereum did it too early?
Obviously not. I mean, they sort of got traction. I'd say like if the goal was Ethereum 2.0, yeah.
I mean, the goal was always Ethereum 2.0, right? That wasn't the vision, I guess.
It wasn't the vision, but that's what I mean. Like, if you want something done, you do it in a centralized way. It just usually quicker. So, I think they got massive success without it. So, ETH1 was a massive success, and I don't think you could have wished for anything better. So,
yeah,
because who started around the same time, like proof of stake. I think even you were saying it's still unsolved as far as the research problem goes. So
yeah,
predicting how long it takes to solve actual computer science problems, it's pretty much impossible. So
yeah. But also in the same vein, like you're saying earlier, I think it's very hard to tell and very hard to know when a software is actually stable. So stable in the sense that because for example, like you can consider like Ethereum considerably stable for the past 2 or 3 years, but now the ecosystem has changed and Ethereum in practice does not work anymore. So it needs to change, right? So if you do it too early, you can also run the risk of not being able to keep up with the changes. And you may never be able to build a product that is stable enough and resilient enough to be able to change.
But I think with Ethereum, the big difference was you had people who actually, you got to a point where there were more people building on the project than there were core team members doing it.
Yeah.
And
is
at
it
this, sorry. Then at this,
go ahead, Brenda.
sorry. At this point, nobody really needs handholding to build an Ethereum. You just get there and you figure it out. Versus when you're a very early project, like even us, when somebody's building on us, there's a lot of handholding that goes with it. There's not that incentive for everybody to just figure it out.
Yeah, I guess that's right. I just think, for example, the main node used is still Geth, and it's being developed by the same 5 guys since from the beginning, right? And I'm not sure if they all left tomorrow, would we be able to keep up? The ecosystem would be able to keep up with it and keep developing and adding features and optimizing it. And I think maybe there are a lot of talented people, but who would take the leap and actually do the dirty work that these same 5 guys are doing for the past 5 years?
Well, I mean, this is always a problem with incentivizing it. I think one of these projects with $1 billion market cap would would pony up pretty quickly if things started to halt. So anyway, this was a great discussion, guys. Thanks everyone for joining. If you want to comment, just reach out to us or to chat about it. Ask questions on the next call, and we look forward to making this a better system, and we're going to be hard at work for a long time. So thanks everyone. I'll talk to you guys next week. See you.